Tonight on the HPT, we're at the Ameristar East Chicago, where a field of 517 entrants generated a prize pool of $744,000. Our ninth place finisher is an insurance broker, former professional poker player, and Chicago, Illinois native Brian Kerr. Having just lost a big pot and most of his stack, Brian shoved all in with Jack 7 and was heads up against the Ace King of Scott. Flop, no help. Turn card did give Brian an open-ended straight draw, but the river was a blank and Brian was eliminated. He went home with just under $15,000. Tonight's 8th place finisher first made an HPT final table back in 2009 at his first ever live tournament. He's professional poker player and Naperville, Illinois native Ryan Alisar. With top pair on a paired board facing an all-in from an aggressive Daryl Haywood, Ryan went with his read and called for his tournament life. Cue the buzzsaw, ladies and gentlemen. Daryl had a full house, and Ryan's dreams for his first HPT title were crushed, and he walked away with $18,522. And finally, going out in 7th place was mortgage broker and Novi, Michigan native Scott Sisler. Scott turned a set of 8s against Gary Herstein's aces and 8s. A bet, a raise, Scott re-raises all in, Gary makes the call, but whammo! Another ace on the river turns Gary's 2-pair into a full house, and Scott was eliminated, but he did go home with over $22,000. All right, folks, we've got 6 players remaining and more than $454,000 to give away, and it all starts right now.
How you doing, everybody? Welcome to the HPT. I'm James Larson alongside Kenneth James, and this week the HPT back on the road here at the Ameristar East Chicago. And Kenna, another huge prize pool.
Yeah, it's fantastic. All the players, great support of our event here in East Chicago. It's going to be an exciting final table.
All right, 6 players remain. Our chip leader running away with this thing, but it's not over yet.
Yeah, Daryl Haywood. They call him the Punisher. He's punishing the field right now. Can he take it wire to wire?
Well, we'll see what happens. Let's meet the other 5 players, though, and most importantly, take a look at the prize pool.
Up top, $170,404.
Take a look at the chip counts here. Daryl here with $7 million. That's 140 big blinds. Now, Osama at the bottom of the heap with just 9 big blinds. He'll have to get something started. And, hey, speaking of getting started, Kenneth James, let's play some poker. I'm excited.
Yes.
Great to be back here at the Ameristar Casino Hotel East Chicago. Seems like yesterday we were just here.
Exactly.
It's just awesome.
No, it's great because the prize pools are so big.
Always.
These players, come out and they love their poker. Just talking about Osama, he's on the short stack. He's going to have to make something happen.
Yeah, just 9 big blinds. He's going to raise it up to 130,000 chips.
You know, when you got under 10 big blinds, a lot of times it's better to just get it in.
Right.
You can affect a fold from your opponents rather than try and take flops. But, it's a preference, and he decides to just make a standard raise to 130,000. Brian looking down now at the crabs, pocket 3s.
Pocket trays. The raise was to 130,000, and Brian is going to make the call.
Try and go for set value.
Now over to James. He's going to fold his hand. And then to Gary Herstein. He's another familiar face here in the Chicagoland area. A very well-respected professional poker player. A lot of friends here in poker and
Yes.
in Chicago. He's just one of those good guys. You can't really say a whole lot of bad things about him. Great to see him here at this HPT final table.
It's nice to see, James and Gary sitting next to each other.
Right.
They got the black and white going.
Gary defends his big blind and makes the call. The flop is 9-6 tray, so Osama gets a piece of it, but Brian, he flops a set of 3s.
Look at this, fireworks right off the start. First hand of the night. Osama is all in.
And this should be a pretty easy call for Brian's screens.
Yeah, I think he's thinking about whether he should just call and try and draw Gary in or just move all in and shut him out.
And he makes the call. Now action over to Gary. Gary will probably put this in the muck. So we'll flip him over here, and Osama will see the bad news. He could be a casualty here in the first hand of the night.
Casualty. He's got a 6% chance. He's going to need runner.
And we go to that turn card now. You see Osama standing up, looks very nervous. as he should be. And the King of Hearts is the turn card. That's going to do it for Osama. He will leave us in 6th place with almost $28,000.
Yeah, but he made it to the final table. Yet it's never easy to go out first on the final table, but he was short stacked. He got it in. You know, it just didn't work out for him tonight.
5 players left, and when we come back from this quick commercial break, we'll have more exciting action right here on the HPT.
Welcome back to the HPT. James Larson alongside Kenneth James here at the Ameristar Casino Hotel East Chicago. Your chip leader is Daryl. He's got about $7 million. That's 140 big blinds. But Gary right behind him with 73 bigs.
And Ed hanging on. He's our short stack with 16 big blinds. Jim, he's got about 23 big blinds. He looks down at pocket jacks.
Jimmy with the J looks down at 2 of those jacks. He's figuring out here, how much do I raise when we're playing 25-50 with a 5K?
Usually about 110, James.
All in.
Or all of the chips that you have in front of you.
Well, yeah, you know, he does have 23 big blinds. That's the other option.
And look at this Daryl here.
Yeah, Daryl, a really quick snap call with ace-queen of hearts.
Hold it around to Brian.
And this is standard. I mean, when we're 5-handed and you catch premium hands like this,
Right.
it's pretty much automatic.
Yeah, so it's going to be ace-queen going against the pocket jacks of Jim. Jim is all in, so he needs this hand to hold up.
Ace on the left, please. Ace on the left side.
Up against 2 overs, the ace and the queen. With a Punisher. I wouldn't want to go up against him in anything but a card game. The flop here is 8-7-4. Not sure I'd want to go up to him.
Yeah.
I'd go up against him in a hold'em game either. But a safe flop there for Jimmy, the 8-7-4. We go to the turn card now. It's the King of Clubs. So one more street here for Jim to get a full double up.
Gonna need to fade an ace or a queen here. Let's see the river card.
And that river card is the 6 of clubs. So Jim Calvo, the 51-year-old attorney / real estate investor from Quincy, Illinois, trying to win his first HPT title. He's got a total career winnings of over $400,000. His plans for the prize money, he's going to go to Maui with his girlfriend, Susie. What a great plan.
Beautiful. Looking at the chips there, those tan chips are worth $25K each. The gray, $5K, and the top chip, the blue ones, they're worth $100,000 a piece.
At 517 entries here at the Ameristar Casino Hotel East Chicago. Down to our final 5 players. We will crown a champion tonight right here on the HPT.
You know, one of the things I say this every show, but I love about the HPT is our structure. And
Absolutely.
The deep stacks. I mean, just look at each one of those tan stacks is worth $500,000. Right?
You know, it took us a long time to get where we're at. We had to listen to the players and to our friends and other folks in the poker community. And finally, you know, we got it right here. In the last couple of years, we've heard a lot of great feedback. So, again, keep it coming. Absolutely. 3 players go to the flop. And that flop is 7-6 tray, couple of spades. Ryan will be first, and everybody got a piece of this.
Look at Jim.
Absolutely.
He's flopped the joint.
They all check. The turn card now is the 4 of clubs. Jim may want to start betting here now. Brian is going to be first. He's got 2 pair, 7s and 6s. Jim flops the straight, and he's going to raise it up to $400,000. This is a good time for Daryl to get out of the way. Action back now to Brian. He's got 2 pair. He can't lay this thing down.
Oh, I mean, he sees that it's 4 to a straight, but he's drawing to a full house.
And the river card is the 8 of spades, so no help there for Brian. As you can see, 0% for him. We'll see if he decides to make a bet into this pot of 975,000 chips.
I don't think so. It's going to be a bluff if he does. He does decide to check. Wow. How about Jim here?
Yeah, Jim straight got a little bigger there.
Yeah, this is a very thin value bet from Jim, though, with 3 spades out there, but he's going to go for it. And I like it. You know, he's going to try and seek as much value as he can.
625. Action back to Brian.
Jim's got one thing on his mind. It's Maui with his girlfriend, Susie. As he puts that bet out there of $625,000. Will Brian make this call? 2 pair. It's a tough one.
It is. And you can feel the intensity even from up here. You know, between the two players,
Absolutely.
every decision, you know, tens of thousands of dollars hang in the balance.
So Jim is going to win that hand. This is our 10th event here at the Ameristar East Chicago. The HPT has awarded over $9 million in prize pool money here since 2014. That has nothing to do with us. It's all about the players. So once again,
That's
guys
right.
and gals, thanks for showing up and supporting the HPT. This is a regular stop for us on the HPT, and that will continue for many, many years.
Ed now under the gun, moves it all in on the short stack. He's got king 6 of diamonds. I'd say this is standard for his stack size. The one with the decision here is Jim. He's second lowest stack. He's got ace 8. He's got to figure, am I ahead of Ed's range here?
Ed is 56 years old from Larson, Wisconsin. I need to visit that city sometime. His total career winnings just over $50,000. Action still on Jim here, and he is going to make the call, Kenna.
Yep.
Now action over to Daryl. He's in the big blind. We'll see if he defends the Punisher. I love that hat.
And how about that alien? He's got the
I
alien.
know.
on the shirt.
There's a patch on there with the
I
alien.
like it.
I love
and
it.
he's got the HPT patch, looking good tonight.
So he does defend here with a decent hand. He's got the queen jack. Let's go to the flop. Ed hoping for some good cards. Comes out 10, 9, 5, couple of clubs. Not what Ed was looking for. Daryl checks his open-ended straight draw.
Yeah, and this is common that the players
Sure.
check it down when the player's all in to try and move up the pay ladder.
Turn card is the deuce of clubs, as you see. No clubs for either of the three players. And Ed doesn't like this flop and turn at all. Now we go to the river. It is the 9 of diamonds. So again, you'll more than likely see a check here. Jim is going to win the pot of 1.6 and a few chips, and that is going to do it for Ed. He will exit us going out in 5th place with a nice little payday, $35,933. Time for us, Kenna, to take a quick commercial break, but when we come back, it's your Final Four right here on the HPT.
That's going to do it for Ed here. Let's give Ed a round of applause.
You're watching the HPT here from the Ameristar Casino Hotel East Chicago. I'm James Larson alongside Kenneth James. Daryl still leading the pack right now, Kenneth, with 110 bigs. Jim's behind him with 76. Gary and Brian. But you talk about our structure. Brian, who's in the bottom of the heap, he still has 50 big blinds.
I'm telling you, you know, in a structure this well, where the stacks are this deep, patience and discipline tends to win the day.
Fourth place today is going to pay just over $48,000. First, just over
Jim Calvo, the 51-year-old attorney, is going to raise it up to $150,000. Action now over to Brian. Brian is in the big blind, so he's going to go ahead and defend with his queen 7. So heads up, we go to the flop, and it comes out a couple of 8s and a tray. A great flop there for Jim.
You know, I would disagree just in saying this. It's a good flop only because you flopped everything and your opponent hasn't flopped anything. You're hoping that your opponent flops something so you can get paid off here. So hopefully he, at least for his sake, he checks it here and allows his opponent to catch up.
Brian checks his queen 7 over to Jim. Jim reaching for some of those blue chips, so he's going to bet 3 of those, which is $300,000, and Brian's going to quickly fold that, so Jim will win that hand. 4 players left here at the Ameristar Casino Hotel East Chicago. Great to be back in the Chicagoland area. We had some notable players who cashed but didn't final table. Judge Leo Booth got 14th place. Kevin Saul, 15th place. Craig the Legend Casino finished 18th. Ryan Greger, 23rd. Bob Chow, 26th. And Dave Goodfriend, our old pal David G., 34th place.
Congratulations, guys, on deep runs and a well-played tournament.
Action over to Jim. Jim's really gotten a lot of TV time early on tonight's episode here from East Chicago.
Well, Daryl, who's open limped into this pot with Jack-9, we take this flop heads up between him and Gary.
And the flop is ace-7 deuce. They're all clubs. Gary with the only club in his hand. He's going to check it over to Daryl. We go to the turn card now. It's the 6 of hearts.
Well, Gary's still on the flush draw. He's picking up a straight draw as well, but he checks it.
And Daryl now going to take a stab at this pot. He's going to bet $175,000, and Gary quickly reaching for chips to make the call. Pot of $320,000.
How about Daryl bluffing with air here, trying to muscle his opponent out of this pot?
Gary wasn't as quick as I said he was there. He reached for the chips. He finally puts them in. And now we go to that river card, and it is the 10 of spades. So that improves Gary's hand there. No help for Daryl. And Gary checks.
Yeah, he's
and
not
Daryl's
giving
gonna
up.
bet.
He's gonna two-barrel bluff here.
So the bet is $450,000. And Gary says call. We flip him over, and Daryl just mucks his hand. So Gary is going to win that pot of almost 1.4 million chips. Like I said before, Gary Herstein, a regular here on the HPT, 64 years of age. He is from Worthington, Minnesota, the same place my mother and father have lived for the last 20 years. Total career winnings for Gary, 350,000. He's got a seventh. He's got 7 cashes here on the HPT. This is his second final table.
It's great to see him back here and on a final table. What a great guy and a great competitor.
He's very well respected in the poker community. A lot of friends here in the Chicagoland area. Go to Jim here. He's been the star of our show. You know, he's played a lot of hands, but he's won a lot of hands too.
He's really managing the situations in his chip stack here. He raises on the button. 3x big blind raise to 150,000.
Daryl, the Punisher, trying to punish Jim here. He's got an ace-4. He's going to make the call. He's in the big blind defending, and a good defend it was here as the ace-queen-jack flop comes out. Daryl pairs his ace, but he's going to check it over to Jim. Jim on the Broadway draw here, looking for a 10. Didn't see a 10, but he got the king of spades.
Yeah, now Daryl fires. It looks like Daryl is playing this hand perfectly.
He's going to bet 150,000. Jim, who paired his king there, is going to go ahead and make a raise. Going to double it up to 300,000 and a quick fold.
Look at this.
Wow.
Jim on a marginal bluff. He actually has a hand that has some marginal value, but he turns it into a bluff to represent the 10, and he gets Daryl to lay down the hand. Well played.
Oh, good stuff. Jimmy took down second place in a WSOP event in June of 2017, 283,000. You know how important those big scores are to any poker player.
Yeah, especially if you're going to be in this game a long time.
Absolutely.
The buy-ins add up. You gotta finish in the top 3 just to stay in the game.
Yeah, and it also pays for a lot of cheeseburgers while you're on the road as well. Daryl's going to raise it up to 175,000 with a fun little hand, a suited ace-4. Those are always fun to play. Ace and a 4, and they're suited up.
And it figures to be better than average in a 4-handed game, but not this time as Jim wakes up with ace-8 suited behind him.
Go to the flop here. It's 6 tray deuce. It's a rainbow, but a pretty good flop there for Daryl.
Got the gut shot straight draw.
His wheel draw goes to a big wheel draw here, all the way to the 6. Jim checks. Action over to Daryl. He bets 350, and Jim quickly folds. All right, Kenna, we've seen some great poker so far. We know it will continue, but we got to take a quick break. But when we come back, I promise you more HPT action. Welcome back to the HPT. It's James Larson and Kenna James here from the Ameristar Casino Hotel East Chicago. Now, Kenna, Daryl's your chip leader, but really everybody's so close here, all nestled up to the top.
That's right. I mean, he's got 100 big blinds. Brian Screens, who's on, right there he is, he's on the short stack, but he still has 40 big blinds.
What our players love about playing these HPTs are the structure's fantastic. All right, well, Brian is going to raise it up with some of those big blinds to 150,000 chips, and over to Jim.
Yeah, it looks like Brian feels like he's shorter than he is to open up with Jack-7 here. Is a little bit of a wide range to open up with.
Patience in poker. How important is the P word, my friend?
Patience, the ability to suffer in place.
I have 0. I have absolutely 0. Let's go to the flop. Ace, 9, deuce, couple of diamonds. Gary likes it here. Action on Jim. He got the best of it, though. Paired is 9 as he's reaching for chips. He's our featured player tonight. He's been on the screen the most, more than any other player. He's going to bet 250,000. Now, like I said, Gary liked it because he's got 2 diamonds in his hand.
He's got the draw. I like both of these players. Look at their stature at the table. Really strong positions, how they're holding their bodies.
Turn card is the 5 of hearts. Jim is first. He's got his 9s, and he's going to bet them.
His bet's 400,000.
And the bet is 400,000. Gary looks at his cards.
And this is it. Hand after hand, you're faced with these really tough decisions. Do I raise on a semi-bluff? Do I call for value on my flush draw? There's over $1 million in the pot. He's getting about 3 to 1. He needs to win 1 out of 4 is 25%, and he's 26% to win, so he makes the correct call.
Gary, yeah, does make the call. We go to the river card. It's red once again, but not the red card that Gary was looking for. Now, what does he bet here to win this pot? How much does he have to bet
Got
here?
to bet at least half pot,
yeah.
like 800,000. My guess is he's going to bet more like 450 or 5.
650,000 is the bet.
I think you have 650,000.
Jimmy says, I think you have an ace. I'm going to fold the hand, and he didn't have an ace. He didn't have a 9, a deuce, a 5, or a 3. He had a jack and a 7.
And he had more than that. He had heart.
He
had
did have
determination.
heart. He
You
did
need
have
that
heart.
to win a tournament.
You're right about that. All right, the action continues here from the Ameristar Casino Hotel, East Chicago. We're in Kenna's old neighborhood. You grew up here, lived here until you were 9 years old, over in Lincoln Park.
I did. Love Chicago. I love the people. Everything but the weather.
Well, hey, it is what it is. I'm a Midwest guy. It gets cold, but hey, we got our summers where it's too hot to do anything.
No, you know, James, and it also brings people together.
Absolutely.
I think it brings people closer together.
All right, Jimmy's going to raise it up to 150,000. It's folded around to the Punisher. That's Daryl.
Gotta like his image, and he's true to form. He looks like a Punisher, I'll tell you. And his play represents that. Look at this.
Re-raised to 350,000. I told him in the commercial break you want to arm wrestle him for 100. So start loosening up for that, my friend.
Yeah, right. I don't think so.
Action over to Jim, and I don't think he's going to fold this.
You know what? And this is the other thing I like about Daryl. You know, he's got that appearance of physical strength, but it's his mental strength and his determination
Absolutely.
in the pot with this 3-bet that is also important. He has both physical and mental strength.
Daryl is 43 years old. He's a business owner from Chicago, Illinois. Total career winnings, he wrote a 0 on the sheet. Not sure if he's a cash game player or he
Bluffing us.
He could be bluffing us. I could check hand and mob, but I decided to just let this one slide. But great to see Daryl Haywood, the Punisher, here at this HPT final table. Lines are 25-50 with a 5K. Action on Gary. Chicago's own Gary Herstein. Queen 6 on the button.
Looks like he's getting out some raising chips.
Yeah, he's going to raise to 175,000. Now Daryl with the 5 tray. It's 150K for him to make the call out of the small blind.
Look at this. These guys are ready to play. Gary opening up the range on the button and Daryl defending his blind. I like it.
Flop is ace 9-8. I was going to say that's what happens here when you're in the Chicagoland area, man. It's take no prisoners on the felt.
Absolutely. I've played with these players and nothing comes easy. Gary semi-bluffs the flop and takes down the pot.
This guy, Gary Kenna, he's kind of like Arthur Fonzarelli. He's a cool guy. He walks
Cool
into a
guy.
room and everybody says, that guy's pretty cool. Hey. All right, action continues here. James Larson, my name, speaking of cool guys, alongside Kenna James as we broadcast here from the Ameristar Casino, East Chicago.
Look at Brian's screens here. He finds KJ, James, King Jack. He's all in.
Brian's going to move all in here on the
Now,
count on that.
pocket 8s for Jimmy, and he says, I'm going to need to see a count on that after seeing the 2 snowmen.
Well, this is a really tough spot, I think. Even though you have a pair, you're figured to be against 2 overcards at the very least. And when you're against 2 overcards or a bigger pair, you're a 2-to-1 dog. Yet, four-handed, 8s is a really big hand. This is a tough decision. Very pivotal.
I'm all in.
And Jim says, I'm all in.
Over to Gary.
Over to Gary now.
Action's on Gary in the small line. Gary folds.
Gary's going to fold his hand. And we're going to flip him over. And Jim is going to see that he's ahead going up against a king and a jack from Brian. Brian, as you can see, is all in, so he will need to improve. Otherwise, he will be eliminated in fourth place. Let's go to the flop. It's ace 9-7. They're all clubs. Nobody with a club in their hand, as you can see. So the 8's still in the lead for Jim. Let's go to that turn card. It's the 9 of diamonds. Still no help for Brian.
Well, he's going to have to improve with a king, jack, or an ace on the river. Doesn't come. That's it. Brian screens out in fourth place. He'll take home just over $48,000.
All right, Kenna, we started with 517 entries, and now when we return, we'll be down to our final 3. More HPT action coming up after these words. Welcome back to the HPT. This week we're docked at the Indiana Harbor on Lake Michigan. That's right, it's the Ameristar Casino, East Chicago. 3 players remain. Welcome back, everybody. James Larson alongside Kenna James. It is once again the James gang, and boy, this is really when poker gets fun. We started with 6, kind of a full table, all kinds of action. Now we're down to 3. These players are truly under a microscope.
Absolutely. Daryl, how about this? He wakes up with pocket 10s, 3-handed. Gary, our chip leader, limps in. Daryl's right behind him, by the way. Not many big blinds behind.
Daryl told our producer in the commercial break, I want to punish these 2 other players. Well, it's a good start there with pocket 10s. We go to the flop. It's jack 8-4, couple of spades. So Gary there with the flush draw. We go to the turn card now. No spade, it's the 5 of diamonds.
Wow, now Gary picks up a pair to go with his flush draw. It's a quick bet by Daryl. Looks like Gary's going to make the call as we go to the river.
Gary's not going anywhere with a hand like this, 3-handed. We go to that river card. No spade,
Look at this.
but another 10 for Daryl.
Now, how does he size his value bet here? I'm thinking about 300, 600.
600. He bet it real quick. Real quick bet.
And this is a tell, James. I'm telling you. When it comes down to the river and an opponent makes a big or a large size bet, it tends to mean either strength or they're bluffing. But more often than not, it means strength.
Daryl wins that pot of 1.4 million chips, and the action continues. 3-handed. Gary looks down at 9 tray. That'll go into the muck. Action over now to the Punisher. The Punisher is going to make the call with ace-8. Jimmy here on the HPT special. He's got the king-queen. It's a hand that looks nice, Kenna.
Yeah.
But it can get you into not a little, but a lot of trouble.
Yeah, because sometimes it makes second best, when somebody has a queen or a king with a bigger kicker.
Or in Daryl's case, an ace. We go to the flop here, and the flop is ace 8-9. So a couple of diamonds there. 2 pair for Daryl. Good flop for him. Jim just going to continue here as he reaches for chips.
And I like this. When you don't really have anything and you flopped air, it's better to just go ahead and bet and see where you're at. And that's exactly what happens.
So now Daryl is going to raise to 1 million, and I think that's going to be probably enough for Jim to get out of the way, and Daryl is going to win that hand. Again, Daryl, 43 years old, a business owner from Chicago, Illinois, and we're not too far away from downtown Chicago here. Half hour, 45 minutes from East Chicago. We're actually in Indiana here at the Ameristar Casino.
It took me a while to figure that out.
Yeah, it's
the name of the city is East Chicago.
Right. Yeah, I always tell people I'm heading to Chicago. That's East Chicago, Indiana. Daryl makes the call here with his 5 tray.
A little unconventional, limping on the button, especially with rags.
Now action over to Jim. We saw his hand was an ace and a 9, so it looks like he's getting some raising chips put together. And he's going to raise to $225,000 with that ace 9. Yep. Gary gets out of the way. Action back to Daryl. $165,000 to call on the button with those rags.
Well, these players are so deep stacked. He's willing to take a flop and gamble it up.
All right, we go to the flop now. It's King 6-4, so not too shabby there for Daryl. Found himself involved in a open-ended straight draw now.
Yeah.
Jim's going to bet $350,000. Daryl says, yeah, I'd love to see another straight.
Absolutely. I mean, if you're playing 5-3 and you flop an open-ender or two pair, it's like, oh, look at this.
And look at that.
Holy
look
cow.
Look at what the little birdie put on the turn there, the deuce of clubs. Action is on Jim. Look at this bet.
How much is that?
700,000. You know what I like about Daryl? He doesn't waste any time.
No, he doesn't. But is that his card protector? Is that a gun that he's got on
I'm
there?
not. It looks like a key or a gun or something.
Something. He's got. He is the Punisher.
And just as I say, Daryl doesn't take much time. He did take a little break there in the action, and he decides to go all in now with his straight.
I think he's putting his opponent on a king, like ace king or a really big hand.
Well, he's going to win the hand. Pot of almost 3.3 million chips go the way of the Punisher. It's James Larson and Kenneth James broadcasting from the Ameristar Casino Hotel East Chicago. Now, folks, we have a bunch of events coming up, and we want you to join us. It's always great to see new, friendly faces. So log on to hptpoker.com. It's an open tournament, each and every one of them. All you have to do is show up. You can either satellite in or do a direct buy-in. And for all the information, check out hptpoker.com. And if you see Kenna in a restaurant or a bar, you heard it from me, James Larson, walk up and say, hey, Kenna, buy me a beer. He's good for it. Trust me on that.
180.
Jim's going to raise it up with a suited connector here, 8-7. And Gary ran into one of my favorite pairs to play, the old pocket nines. I like him because you're kind of sitting in the bushes with them. Nobody expects you to have pocket nines. A couple of big cards come out with that nine, and you just come out and you grab them.
Shows pocket nines. James shows 7 of hearts, 8 of hearts.
Jim shoves all in. Gary makes the call. Jim's going to see he's a big underdog to Gary's pocket pair.
All right, James has 8 of hearts.
Yeah, I think this suited connector got away from Jim.
Indeed.
You know, playing mind games here and walked out the door without a hand.
Flop is Jack 8-4, couple of spades. Gary's still in the lead. Gary's thinking about one thing. He's hoping to be heads up here in about 2 more cards. The turn card, another spade, this time the 10 of spades.
Well, this is a situation where Gary definitely doesn't want a 9. It'll make Jim the straight.
Yeah, it's not very often you're cheering against yourself to make a set, but this time they both stand up to see the river card, and it is the 4 of hearts. So that is going to do it for Jim. He got a lot of TV time tonight. He played well, and for that play, he's going to go home with $69,000. And when we come back, Heads Up Poker is next, right here on the HPT. All right, folks, welcome back to the HPT. It's James Larson alongside Ken and James, and if you ask me, this is the best part of the program. It's time for Heads Up Poker. We got Daryl, we got Gary. Here's the problem, Kenna. We can only have one champion. There can't be 2 champions. Now, for second place, we give a nice little prize, $104,000 and what, $168? But everybody wants to be the champion. They want the bracelet, they want the bragging rights, and they want the big payday. Let's go to the flop. It's Ace, Jack, 5, couple of hearts. Action on Daryl.
400,000 is the bet.
Well, Daryl's got the gut shot to the wheel. Gary's got second pair. I expect him to call here, and he does.
And number 1 of the match,
Yep.
9 of spades on the turn. Once again, Daryl's going to check.
And now Gary's going to go ahead and take the lead with his second pair.
Here's going to bet 500,000.
That is 500,000. Daryl makes a very quick call.
He's
Doesn't
not going
waste a lot
anywhere.
of time. No, he certainly isn't going anywhere. That's not the card he was looking for. That's the 6 of diamonds. So Daryl's going to have to be creative here to win this pot.
Yeah, he's going to be creative and put some heat on Gary to make it a tough call. I don't expect this to get through. There's 2 hearts out there. There's missed straight draws.
A tough call, though, for Gary, though. Still, he's got the jack. He flopped the jack.
Anytime you got to call over $1 million in chips, it's
Sure.
going to be tough.
And there's that ace out there.
His opponent really is representing like 6-5 of hearts here.
Right. He's going to make the call reluctantly, and the Punisher's just going to fold his hand.
Yep.
So that's a very important hand of this match. The first hand of Heads Up.
Yep.
And look at the chips there, almost $5 million in the pot. So
That's going to draw them about even
Absolutely.
in this match.
Absolutely. All right, the action continues here from the Ameristar Casino, East Chicago. If you're just joining us, I got a feeling you're in for a treat here. 2 players left out of 517 entries this week in East Chicago, Indiana. Gosh, first place, man, $170,404. What's the first thing you do with that tomorrow? Do you take your friends out for cheeseburgers? I don't know. The flop here.
Well, we're in Chicago, so it's Italian beef.
Exactly, yeah. 2 10s in a tray here. Gary will be first to act. That flop doesn't really hit either player. We go to the turn card after they both check. That is the 5 of hearts. Daryl pairs his hand. Gary's going to check. I expect the Punisher to make a small bet here. He does of 200,000 chips. Gary makes the call. We're playing speed poker here. I can barely keep up with these guys. King of clubs on the end. Gary's going to check. Daryl's going to win the hand, and we move on. Boy.
Well, these guys are deep stacked. There's a lot on the line. There's a lot of playing, but I like the relaxed attitude of both these players. They look like they've been here before.
And they have.
And they're playing for the championship.
Yeah. Great shot there from our camera crew. Man, I want to give a shout out to all the guys on our crew. They've been with us for years.
Yes.
These guys work really, really long hours, and thanks to everybody on our HPT production crew. If you ask me, they're the best in the business. Gary's going to raise it up, as he should, with pocket 7s to $250,000. Daryl makes the call, and we go to the flop. It's 10-6-5, couple of spades.
Is it just me, or does Daryl seem to get these 2 cards to a wheel a lot, like 5-3?
He sure does. Deuce 4 we saw a couple of hands ago.
Gary pairs his 5, third pair on the board, rather. Gary with the 7s. You know, and you notice that Daryl is always pushing the envelope.
Yeah, he's going to raise it to $850 this time, and Gary's got to think about it as he stands up here. But boy, Gary's really had Daryl's number so far. Well, really, for a majority of the night here. So he's feeling good. You know, he's playing well. And, you know, life is good right now. Gary Herstein, we'll see if he can make this call, and I think he will.
Gary says call. 850,000 total bet.
And he does just that. So.
See, these bets are getting awful big.
They really are. And look at the pot. The pot is just swelling. This thing could be over before you know it. Turn card now. The meaningless Jack of clubs. Daryl checks. 1 million, says Gary. 1 million.
So interesting, this line that Gary has taken in his hand. Now he leads out with the Jack. Maybe he's put his opponent, Daryl, on a flush draw, and so he doesn't want to give him the free card. So he bets into him to make sure that he doesn't give him the free card and draw to the flush for free.
And there's 2 draws out there. We got spades and clubs, so it's a good point there, Kenny James. Let's go to that river card, and it's another spade. This time the Jack is spades. So Gary with Jacks and 7s, Daryl with Jacks and 5s.
Daryl shows first, 5-3, 2 pair.
Well,
Both players put each other on the flush draw there.
Exactly.
And it didn't happen. They both had marginal pairs.
Kenna, I want to ask you a question. Are you having as much fun as I am calling this final table?
It's fantastic. Back and forth. It's the Punisher versus the disciplined Riley veteran. It's a dogfight out there.
And I'm learning something on tonight's show. That's what I like about watching and calling poker is I learn things. And these 2 guys, they're putting on a clinic. This has been fun. Action continues here. Daryl with a suited king deuce is going to raise to $250,000. And now over to Gary. He's going to make the call. He's got an ace in his hand, as he should here. Ace 8 going up against king deuce.
And that's what I mean by his disciplined play. He just calls. He doesn't 3-bet.
Look at this flop. Ace, king, deuce. Gary pairs his ace, but 2 pair for Daryl.
Bet 500,000 over to Gary.
We're going to see some fireworks, I can tell you that.
I think Gary, the way he's been playing, he's just going to call. And he's going to continue unless he makes 2 pair or better to check call this hand is my prediction, the way he's been playing.
Turn card is the 10 of diamonds. Action.
Check. Daryl moves all in. Action.
Wow. Daryl taking the hard line of drawing a line in the sand and moving all in and putting Gary to the test.
Gary's trying to get a count here on this. See, that pot is swelled up to over 5 million chips. And he says fold. All right, well, we've seen some very exciting poker. Your heads up. I need to take a quick commercial break. We're going to pay some bills, but when we come back, the final table heads-up action will continue.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the HPT. 2 players remain. We got Daryl, we got Gary. At the moment, Gary, he's our chip leader, but it's heads-up poker. It's the HPT. Anything can happen.
Anything can happen. Blind 60 at 120,000 with a 15K ante. Gary's getting out calling chips, just limping on the button with Jack 9.
And the option is checked by Daryl. So Queen 7, Jack 9. We will see a flop, and that flop is 9-6-5. So Gary pairs his 9, but a gutter ball for Daryl.
Yeah, very interesting flop here. Daryl with a backdoor flush draw, gut shot straight, and an overcard. He makes the call.
Go to that turn card now. It's the tray of diamonds. Once again, Daryl will be first to act, and he checks to Gary.
Now, Daryl has the double gutter, a 4 or an 8. Maybe his queen is good. So if Gary bets here, and it looks like he is, I expect Daryl to find the call.
Bet is 425,000, and just like Ken has said, Daryl will make that call. So we go to the river card here, and it's the Queen of Hearts. So good news for Daryl there. He gets the check mark.
You know, and that's what makes these Chicago players tough. They stick. They don't just give things away. And Daryl really now going for value here, betting 600,000. Is Gary going to pay him off? No.
And he says no.
Finds a disciplined fold.
A good instincts there by Gary Herstein. Daryl's going to win the pot. Almost 2.2 million chips. He's impressed us, both players. This has been really fun to watch. All right, action continues. We'll start with Daryl.
Yeah, and heads up play, the button actually acts first pre-flop, and then post-flop acts second.
Daryl has Jack 9. He's going to make the call. And now Gary is going to raise it up with his ace-king to 300,000. Daryl makes the call. Let's go to the flop. And a couple of 7s and a 10.
And this happens a lot in heads up. Both players flop nothing, and who wins the pot is the one who wants it the most. Look at this.
Wow. Gary bets, and now Daryl goes all in. 4.7 for Gary to make this call.
James, I'm telling you, Gary might sniff this out because it doesn't make sense, right? Why would his opponent just move all in if he had a 7? Wouldn't he want to get value from it?
He's thinking, he's talking out loud.
Call.
He makes the call,
wow,
ladies
what
and
a
gentlemen.
call.
And look at the studio audience.
What a call.
What a great call that was.
You know,
Gary.
yeah, your instincts tell you, but you're looking at no pair, ace high. You've got to put all your chips in the middle, hoping your opponent
And look at the
doesn't
turn
have
card.
a 10.
The ace of diamonds, no help for Daryl.
No, he needs an 8. Daryl needs an 8.
And let's go to that river card. And it's the Jack of Clubs. And just like that, Kenna, a brand new HPT champion here in East Chicago. Gary Herstein will go home with $170,404. I tell you what, fella, I'm going to leave you here. I'm going to head down to the final table and interview Gary and our second place finisher.
All right, James, what a fantastic heads-up battle between these two competitors making their way through this awesome field. And right now, James is tableside with our second place finisher, Daryl.
You're going home with a 6-figure payday. I know you wanted to win this thing, but what's going through your mind as you finished here in second?
You know, it was a tremendous experience. It was my really first tournament to play in this level, and I'm just happy.
Now, you're mainly a cash game player. You adapted so well at this final table. How'd you do it?
Well, you know, you're going against players they're tough, they're experienced, so either you can change gear with them or get knocked out early.
All right, well, finally, let's talk about the cash, a 6-figure payday. Are you going to do anything fun with the money?
Pay some bills.
Okay.
What a great interview by a great guy. Always important to adapt your strategy to the game you're playing. But right now, stepping into the championship spotlight for his interview, Gary Herstein. He's with James tableside right now.
How did you make that call with just ace-king? Because that ace-king shrivels up to such a small hand when you see those 7s out there. What made you make that call?
I just can't give him a 7 on a jam there. and he can't really jam a 10 either. So actually, I think I had him on 8-9, and it's a good thing he didn't have that because he got there. But I had a little read, and I had some help. Yeah. All these guys back here.
All right, and finally, you've got the bracelet and over 100 and what is it, 170,000? I mean, 170,000. What are your plans for the cash?
I'm just going to give it all away. Here, guys.
He's going to give it all away, ladies and gentlemen.
All right, well, congratulations to our champion, Gary Herstein, once again. And as James makes his way back up here, I'd like to take just a moment to thank everybody once again, including the players who've made their way here and support our great event, to our staff, our dealers, everybody here that produces the HPT, bringing it to you people at home.
It's always great to be back here at the Ameristar in East Chicago. And I'll tell you this much, partner, you missed it. Gary was throwing money into the studio audience. You saw that. So one more time, congratulations to Mr. Herstein. He's going home with the bracelet, the title, and of course, the bragging rights. As we wrap up, I want to let everybody know this. If you want to give it a shot and play right here on the HPT, why not just do it? Log on to hptpoker.com, find a date that will work for you, and who knows, maybe you'll be playing for the Unreal Cash. For Ken and James, I'm James Larson, and we'll see you next time right here on the HPT.